right, hello everyone. Thanks for coming by. Hey, we're doing another Extreme Beginner Series painting. We're doing actually some compositions here. We're doing flower compositions in a vase, some sunflowers, some beautiful red wildflowers. This is the finished painting right here. This is the painting we're going to work from. This is an original painting we did just not too long ago. And we're going to use this for our guide to create our new painting. So this is a really fun way to practice and do compositions with your watercolors by using a painting you've already completed, and then you're going to try to maybe create another one very similar, and maybe you do a few things differently, try out some new ideas, but basically starting with the original painting that you had to start with. And this is a really fun way. If you do maybe 3 or 4 of these, then you can also bump up and do a larger size painting, because then you're familiar with the layout of the design of the painting, you're familiar with the colors, with the flowers, with the overall look of the painting. So then this way, if you do again 2 or 3 or 4 of these, then you can up your size and make a larger painting, and it looks absolutely wonderful, and you'll have much more fun doing it because you're already kind of familiar with it, and you're just sort of just enlarging the size of it. And we could see here too, we talk a little bit in this video about just like using a mat, a store-bought mat, to create a line and border on your painting first. So this way you know you have that space you have to fill first, and then once you drop over your mat like that, you're good. You know you've painted the painting at least large enough that you're not going to have a problem with it being too small and the mat not fitting correctly. So it's always good to use a mat to border your paintings when you're painting, so that if you do decide you want to put them in mats and frame, you want to mat them and then frame them, you can kind of always have your paintings prepped and ready to go, so you won't have to worry later on about them not fitting correctly for a store-bought mat. Okay, so let's get into the painting, drawing and painting, and we'll have a great time, everyone. We'll get started in just a second. All right, so we're getting started here. We're going to do our drawing first, our preliminary sketch, let's say, first, then our drawing, and then we'll get right into the painting here. And you saw the finished painting, of course, just a second ago. So we'll just go through the steps of how we work out our first stages of getting set up to do our painting here. So the first thing we'll do is we have our reference painting here. This is a painting I did a while back. So I'm just going to take a painting that I've done before that I am pretty pleased with, and I'll use that again to recreate another painting, which is always a good game plan, because you've already created the painting. You can see the colors already, so you know the colors you're going to use. You know, you can pick out your yellows, your reds, your blues. You kind of can see the colors already of the palette and what colors you use. This was done with a different palette. I think I used my normal palette with tube paints on this painting, but we can still use these colors here in this more of a beginner's palette here, and that's fine. You can pretty much see that the colors are going to transition the same way from this painting over to here and then onto the paper. So we'll just use the same colors. We'll use reds and oranges and yellows, some blues and purples, and some greens. We'll have a real fun time at this. We'll get started. So the first thing I like to do is I'll tape down the paper here, and then we're going to try something a little different as well. In just a second you'll see. So the main thing is we want to tape down our paper just to keep it from moving, and also creates a nice border. So we do that. That's the first thing we want to do. We'll slide that over a second. So I'm just using really good tape here. We're using good artist tape. You can use, I like using the manila tape or the white tape here for videos, because it looks much better than trying to use let's say the green tape you can get in the big box stores like the Home Depots and Lowe's and whatever. These are great tapes because they're for trim, like painting trim inside the house. They're great because they're soft. The glue on the back of the tape is very lightly glued, and it's a kind of glue on the back of this tape that wouldn't tear the paper. And this is good too. This is a high quality drafting tape which won't rip the paper as well when I peel it up. But this is a great tape, and it's a little less expensive than going out and trying to find drafting tape online. I have a hard time a lot of times finding this online. So you can use something like this from your box stores, and they have it in different widths. And they make it in different colors, different widths, so you can get this type of thing, and they all work great. So those are your options. You can do something like that. But again, for video, I like to use this cream color or beige color tape. Looks better on camera as we video here. So we're just doing a border. Pretty much a good rule of thumb is you're going to use thin tape like this, like a 3/4 inch tape for smaller paintings. And then if you're doing a large painting, you can use some of the wider tape. So it's kind of like the paintbrushes. If you're doing a large painting, you'll use larger paintbrushes, and if you're doing a smaller painting, you're going to use smaller paintbrushes. And the same thing with the tape. You know, as you get into a larger paper, then you're going to use maybe that wider tape that we just saw. But this is fine, 3/4 inch wide for this smaller composition here. And we'll slide this back in. And this next step is really a good step to really maybe do. I think I should do this more. I don't do this as frequently as I should. I sometimes just get into the excitement of getting started here on a video, and I just go right in and start painting. But this is a great thing too, if you want, especially if you're going to want to mat and frame your paintings as you're painting and doing your work, your paintings. You can buy these mats online or in your art stores or your hobby stores, big box hobby stores and art stores, or you can get them online. Accent mat, that's called an accent mat, and it's this is actually made in my area. Nicole is the company, and it's in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. So it's kind of a local company that's nearby in New Jersey where I live. So they must supply the local hobby stores and art supply stores and so forth. But this is a good thing to do. You take these and you can take these out of the wrapper, and then you put it down on the paper. And then you might just have one that you use all the time because you're probably going to make some marks on it. So you wouldn't use this to frame a painting with, because you're going to get pencil lines on the mat probably. At some point it'll start to get. But at least if you make a pencil line like this, then you know you have the right size. So you know you got to at least, and you can just erase that line a little bit. Then you can go beyond that line when you draw and paint. But at least you know you're pretty much, this is going to work out with this mat. Whereas if you painted a smaller size painting within this mat and you didn't have it as large as this, then when you go to put your mat down, it's going to be too small. So let's say we did a painting that was only, let's make, just for instance, let's pretend this is a painting. If I can find some scrap paper here. And it's right now difficult to find scrap paper at my table here. I'll find something. Here we go. Okay, so let's say we painted a painting this size, like that. And we painted our painting this size, and then we went to put the mat over it, and it doesn't cover it. Can you see that, how it doesn't cover the painting? If this was the painting itself, this paper here. So that's why if you make a pencil mark on your paper, then you know you got to at least paint inside these boundaries, but you can go beyond it and then move your mat around like this and then trim your painting. So this is like a good guide if you want to make sure your paintings are going to match your mats. If you're going to frame your paintings, which is a good idea to start framing some of the ones that come out really good. Always a good idea. And so we'll keep going here. So we're just making a note of that you can set up your paintings so that your mats will fit over top of them, and you can put it right back in this bag like this that you got the mat in, and that protects the painting. And then you have it saved. You can save them, and you'll have your paintings saved. So let's start out here. We're going to do our drawing first. We'll do a preliminary sketch. And we always like to do a preliminary sketch just to get I'll just tape this so it doesn't move. So our preliminary sketch is basically just to make sure that we're getting this vase and flowers in the picture frame as we want. So if this is, so we can paint this whole area, but we definitely have to go, our painting has to go out to these lines at least at a minimum, so that we can put our mat over top. So here, let's say this is about not quite halfway. So if this is halfway on the, if we're looking at this as a one square shape, halfway on the square is like this. So halfway here is about here. We can use our finger to place that mark and say the top of this vase is a little lower than halfway. So if this is halfway, the vase is a little bit lower, like that. So we'll do that. We'll make a mark there and say, okay, that's where we want to start. And then how about the vase? How wide is it compared to your whole square, your whole rectangle that you have, or your square that you're painting within? How wide is this? It looks like it's like thirds. This would be 1/3 here, another third, and then another third. So 3 equal divisions like this. And that would be the vase. So then we can just sort of get ourselves now. Sometimes this is very light. I'm drawing very light purposely because we're doing a preliminary sketch. We'll go over it again. And then we have a handle over here. And then we'll have our first flower here. Let's do our, this would be our sunflower. So we're just gonna just very lightly so I'm just making those leaves, the petals of the sunflower like that. That looks good. And then over here we have that red flower there. There's another yellow flower here, and then a red flower over here. So I'm just looking carefully at my subject matter. And if you want to adjust it sometimes and do it a little different this time here compared to this, you might do it a little different, you know, change things a little bit, that's fine. I'll do that. I'm going to make it a little more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Maybe I could neaten this up a little bit over here. Okay, so that's our preliminary sketch. So you can see I did it very lightly, and now that we are happy, does this make sense? We're happy where everything is. It looks like we've kind of used this as our guide. We've used this as our reference material. And it looks like we've pretty much got the same look as this. And of course you can go out of these boundaries here, all the way out to the tape if you want. And that looks good. And then now we'll do our, before we do our final contour drawing, we're done with our preliminary sketch. We got it looking good, right where it's got to be. We've filled the whole rectangle here, this whole rectangle that we have to work in. We've filled it up with subject matter so that it looks good, just like we have here on our reference material. And then what we'll do is we'll take a quick break for just 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe just 5 minutes is fine, whatever you want to do. And if you want to keep working, that's fine too, but I always find it's good to take some breaks. Does that make sense, to take a couple breaks here and there? You get yourself a little glass of water, iced tea, cup of tea, coffee, whatever it is you like to drink. You have a little break, little drink. Maybe you're going to do something too. You might have to do some things around the place, around the apartment, the house. That's fine too. I do that all the time. I'll start a painting and then go do some things, go out and run errands, and then come back a little bit later and keep continuing to work. So that's fine. Do it what makes sense for you. You have flexibility with that, especially with watercolors. That's a great thing about watercolors is you can start and stop as much as you want, and it's not really going to bother things too much. You'll be fine. Okay, so we'll come back in just a second, and we'll start the final drawing, contour drawing, which will be a darker drawing just to get everything really solid as far as our drawing goes, our pencil drawing, and then we'll start our painting. So we'll be back in just a second. Okay, so we just took a quick break, 5 or 10 minutes, and now we're going to start with our contour drawing over the top of our preliminary sketch. Basically, again, the preliminary sketch is just really to get yourself thinking about the subject you're drawing, trying to get those really light lines, super light sketch lines, to get your subject matter onto your paper in a place you like it. This would be the time, if you had to adjust something, you can erase a little bit here and there, just to make sure that you have everything just right the way you like it, and then you can go over and do our darker drawing. So I'm going to do the contour drawing. So I'm just going to go around here, and I'll do just the darker drawing like that. So I'm doing is basically just drawing it again, tracing over the lines that I was using. Okay, and then we'll start doing the other flowers over here. Sometimes I'll put in an extra leaf or something, or just to change it a little bit from what I had before. Okay. Maybe another leaf over here. And then there's some, this is a clear glass jar, so we're just going to put some stems in there, just to remember we're going to want to have stems in there. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's our drawing now. We did our final drawing there in pencil. Now we're going to get our paints. We have them, I spritzed a little bit of water on the paints, and I'll just do it again quickly, just a little bit, not too much. This painting we're going to use mostly paint and not too much water. And we're going to get our brushes that we normally use. We have the brush that comes with our prang set, and of course this is the prang set we use. I've been using this for the Extreme Beginner series because it's readily available. You can get it online. It's inexpensive. You don't have to worry about spending a fortune on paints and palettes and all that. You can get this set. It's great. It's a Prang Oval 16. Semi-moist paints. You spritz it, and 5 minutes later your paints are beautiful, ready to go. You can close this up, and a week later you open it back up again, spritz it with a little bit of water, and again you have the same effect, just nice, beautiful paint to work with. So, and then this brush comes with the set, so you have a nice pointy round brush, medium, small to medium sized round brush. And then I also use this Simmons brush. This is a Simply Simmons round brush, and it's a little bit larger than this one, you can see, so it can hold a little more paint and a little more water. So between these two, I think we'll be able to paint. We'll use maybe this for more of the details, and this maybe we'll use for the main brush that we'll paint everything with. So then I just have a little bit of water. I'll put into my, and again, we're not going to use a lot of water. Let's try to keep this mostly pretty much paint and very little water. So maybe the water you're going to use is just when you rinse your brush off, and then you can shake your brush off a little bit. You can shake your brush off a little bit in your water pail before you bring it to the paints. Or if you want, you can take a tissue and touch a tissue a little bit to dry off a little bit of the water, or you can use a sponge next to you. So you can put this next to your water pail, rinse your brush. Sorry about that. You could take this here, rinse the brush, tap it on a small piece of sponge like this. I trimmed down a bigger sponge, made it into a smaller piece here. I sit this next to my bucket. You tap your brush, rinse first, tap on the sponge, and then you go in and get your paint and you paint. Or if you want, you can use a tissue. You rinse your brush, tap on the tissue a few times, and then you go in and get your paints. This way, you're not flooding all your paints with tons of water, because if you just go in and you don't shake off a little water, or if you don't check off a little water on the sponge or the tissue, like that, then you're going to be flooding out your paints. Does that make sense? So you're going to be, if you don't kind of shake off that water or tap some off the brush, you'll tend to be flooding your palette and your paints with water. And we want to kind of keep our paint consistency thick paint and not too much water. So we have enough water in our palette right now with the spritzer bottle that we have enough water in there. So we'll want to check off that water on our sponge or our tissue. So I'm going to do that as I'm painting. So we'll get started here. Maybe I'll start with some of the darks. So I see there's some greens and blues over here, and I'll get some green here. Greens. Mix in some blue with that. And rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water. And then I'll get some of that green and blue. Put some of that there so you can see. I'm just placing that paint on. Mostly paint, not too much water. And then maybe we'll make some yellow and brown. We'll make like a yellow ochre looking color. Or a raw sienna looking color like that. And I'm just going to keep looking back and forth at my painting so that I can kind of follow the colors I want to use. I'll start there. And then maybe I changed this a little bit. Maybe that would have been and you can change the look of things if you want. So you can paint the vase different if you want. You can lift up a little paint if you feel like you've maybe painted over a section you didn't want to. You can lift up a little paint like that with a tissue and then continue to work. So I'm going to do, and I'm going to remember to keep changing my colors, get some grays in there, you know, some paint mixtures that are not exactly bright, exciting colors, but maybe you gray down some colors, make them a little bit more subdued so that they kind of, so you have some areas of intensity and then some areas of relaxed kind of a feeling, not as much intensity of the colors. And I'm trying to look at my subject again, and we're going to do some purple down here. I see some purples already and some more blue. Maybe some orange and yellow. Start to make some of that. I think I put some yellow down here just to counterbalance up here. And I'm going to go right from the vase right to the background. Kind of blend those edges together. A couple of splashes here and there. Like that. Okay, and then we're just going to start working up into the flowers now. And again, I'm going to try to keep matching my colors and working things around. Yellow and orange for our petals. And we're just going to continue with that. Not too much water, mostly paint. Rinse off the brush, take a little water off the brush. So I'm just moving around some of the brighter yellow. And you can go in and add some more orangey yellow too. So you add a little orange to that yellow mixture here and there. So you kind of mix it up, blend some colors, you know. It's always good to blend some colors. Then we're going to use some brown for the center of the flower. Like that. And then we're going to use some more green up here, green and blue. A little bit of brown in there. Green, brown, blue. Kind of a darker green. Warm it up a little bit maybe with some orange. So what I'm going to do here is a couple of dark greens here and there. Just like this. Around, but not everywhere. Some darker greens, and then let's go in with some lighter greens. Green and yellow, let's try that. That's more of a fresh green. That's a nice fresh kind of a green look there. And you can see I'm just working my colors around. Now we're going to get into some reds. Okay, we have room over here. Let's use some red. This is a really beautiful red. It's kind of like a alizarin crimson red. And then there's some cadmium looking red here. That might even be like a rose madder. And this could be your alizarin crimson or like a rose madder. That could actually be rose madder. This might, I would say this is like an alizarin crimson here. This is sort of looking like a cadmium red. So we'll just, now that we know, I'm looking at the color on the palette just to get the idea, then I'll dry off my brush and go straight into the paint with a dry brush, and then this way I can get a nice, beautiful red color. And then we can mix it up. I'll start one here and over here. So I'm going to start a few flowers over here and here and here. See how I'm going to try to move around a little bit. Then I'll go over here and make it lighter with a little more water and do that. There we go. Maybe a little splash. And we're going to go in again and do some more. Here. And if you get a little bit of, you could always blot up a little bit of paint with your tissue there. If you see you need to blot up a little bit, you can do that. Or you can sometimes just let it blend in there. And we'll try this over here. Like that. So there we have some nice, bright, beautiful red flowers, wildflowers, and then over here we're going to have more yellow. Like so. And you can already see we have a really gorgeous flower painting here. and it didn't take all that much time. I put a little bit of purple wash with a couple splashes just to get some color on the paper. You can leave it white paper too as well. I'm just going to add a little color to the paper. And then this is green here. Let's get that nice, like a nice warm green there. So we have a little bit of that. Maybe one over here too. So a couple just small, fine. And I did everything with the one brush here, which is fine. If you can use one brush, sometimes that's fine too. So I added a little bit of different ideas to this painting. Obviously, I added these green leafy twigs and things, and maybe these are ferns. You can splash a little bit of splash on there. If you feel daring, put some splashes on. If you don't like a splash or you don't think you're going to be happy with putting splashes on things, maybe you practice them a little bit on separate paper a couple times here and there before you go ahead and do it. It's up to you. But I think this looks pretty good. So I think we have a really good result here. Next thing we'll do is let's take a look and see how this looks once we'll peel off our tape here and see how it looks framed out with the white border. I think it's going to look good. And it does. Okay. So we did a beautiful fresh flower painting here. Quickly, we used our previous painting that we had. So sometimes you'll use your previous paintings to practice another composition using that, and then you maybe change it a little. You know, if it didn't come out great and you don't think, you know, it's an excellent second try on something, well then that's fine. You'll try another one or two or three. You can keep working from your original and do 2 or 3 different variations on it and see, you know, where that leads you. If you find, you know, you're going to create something even better than the first copy that we did or our first painting. I like this one. I like this one a lot, and I like this one too. It's a little different, a little more spontaneous looking, but I still like them both. I think they look fantastic for what we're trying to do, which is a flower composition here. We're not trying to, you know, we're not trying to like make a thrilling, absolute, incredible painting here. We're trying to practice our skills, practice our compositions, try small compositions like this. It's absolutely a great thing to work small when you're practicing ideas and working with color compositions and things like that. And then once you get comfortable with something, you do it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, then you would take this and you just get a larger sheet of paper and you get a little bit larger brushes. And this palette works fine. You can use this for a very large painting, actually, this palette. And you could do a larger painting, finish painting, using this, these compositions that you make first before you do maybe a larger work. And then we can also see here that we can put a mat over the top of this and it works fine. Look at that. Excellent. So we could put this right over there and then put this into a frame and we're all set. So let's have fun with our compositions like this, working from a finished painting and doing another one just like it, 2 or 3. And we'll see you on the next video, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. And again, if you like these videos, please hit the subscribe button right down the right-hand side there. You will see the subscribe button, and you can also click on the notification bell. And then that will actually alert you that we're creating a new painting, and you can just follow along and paint along with us and have a great time, okay? All right, so we'll see you soon, and happy painting, everybody.